I'm so delighted to see a full house, because this changes the dimensions of how we would like to conduct this particular panel conversation. But a little bit brief, I would like to begin with Bayer, which my host has already said. We are 125 years in India, German-based company specializing in crop science, which is agriculture, pesticides, fungicides, insecticides, and pharmaceuticals, and consumer health. You heard of Saridon. Who hasn't? Right? Big-on spray. These are all Bayer products. Bayer, whichever way you wish to call it. And our focus areas are very much into rural development, of course, working with smallholder farmers, and then into the healthcare, because they are aligned with the business, right? And community education. So we work with reviving defunct farmer-producer organizations in the telemedicine sector. We set up telemedicine centers, and both of these are almost in all the same districts. We are around in 16 aspirational districts, not easy areas to work in. And for education, we work with Niti Aayog on the Atal Tinkering Labs, where we've adopted 125 schools to mentor the teachers and students. Just a brief about how we work. So with the full house here, let me begin in the reverse way and ask you, what is it that you are looking out from today's session? Please put your hand up, and I'll have someone give you a mic if it's possible. What are you looking out from today's session? Anybody who wants to contribute? Yeah? Right in the beginning? Yeah. So, so that we customize it and give it to you the way you want to hear it. And I have a panel who is ready to customize.
Yeah, the challenge and the solution first word cluster-based.
We got that already buzzed in. Yes, behind you. Can you pass it behind you?
In last 20 years, I have not seen the collaboration create now. Everybody works in silos.
You have not been looking in the right direction somewhere. But we will come to that also. Yes, somebody can give the so challenges in what does cluster-based really mean? How do you collaborate better? Yeah. Managing conflicts. Yeah.
So I come from academia.
Yeah.
And we are interested in looking how we can collaborate with industries, with the corporate world, especially with the CSR.
Yeah, so how do you build partnerships?
How do you build
across,
partnerships with
right?
academia?
I heard conflicts, partnerships, cluster-based definition. Last one, yes. If it's different from the others.
When, is it me or?
Behind you, Tejashree. Yeah.
So we work in mountains, and due to the population constraint, the less number of population to get a CSR is difficult. So how to overcome that? Because
No, but that's not a question for this topic. What is it you're looking at from this particular theme? Yeah, cluster-based, collaborative. Okay. Yeah, what is it?
When different corporates come together, how do you do impact attribution?
Okay. Impact assessment with different corporates coming together. Right. Last question now, yeah? Because if we have time, we'll come back.
So basically, Poshina is a cluster of tribal. They are very best at Ayurveda medicine. And how CSR can capture that knowledge and come to the people?
I would put it, how do we capture ground knowledge or ground expertise of the communities and build it up in
as a
program,
cluster.
rather than just going into specificities of Ayurveda. Thank you so much. This will help us frame our discussion. If what you hear from us is not what you wanted to hear, we'll have another round of Q&A. But I just wanted this to have a little different approach and address the queries, the curiosities you bring, and also, sort of appreciate the expertise you bring to us by being part of this particular this. So I will open up with asking to Vikas one common question to all three of you. What do you understand by a cluster-based approach in partnership? Because I think that's what everybody wishes to hear, and maybe each one of you have a very different perception. So maybe Vikas, would you like to open up?
Thank you very much. I am coming from a corporate, so I can maybe address some of the queries which you have raised. So I'm coming from a company who was instrumental in setting up BITS. So I maybe education is in our DNA and our focus area, and so cluster-based collaborative approach is not only meant for collaboration between two corporates or maybe joining and impact. It will come later on. Cluster wherever you are working, and collaboration where you are going to collaborate with that particular cluster which is having a lot of stakeholders. let's take example of one of our project. We are working in education. We have collaborated with a lot of NGOs. We have collaborated with government officials. We have collaborated with the public opinion leaders also, MLA, MPs, for the funds, for a lot of approvals process. So that cluster, that kind of ecosystem that you have to develop, that multi-stakeholder functionary you have to develop, and then it will start giving the impact. So this is what I mean if I'm working in a particular area, particular cluster, where collaboration can happen. And the collaboration can happen not only in the corporates. Collaboration can happen in the expertise. Let's say somebody was from the IIT Gandhinagar. So he must be having some knowledge which can be useful in my area. A lot of things is happening, like STEM learning. It was happening here, and there was an NGO which can be useful in our education area also. I'll give one of the example because my partner NGO person is also in this room. So we are working in Punjab and Haryana for crop residue management. We are having a cluster. We cannot work in entire Punjab and entire Haryana because we are having a limitation of resource. Maybe this is going to eventually help us to get more funds from the government also. But we have selected some area which is having a burning issue of crop residue management. So there we are not having expertise in that particular area, agriculture management, although we are coming from that, but like environmental things and sustainability is a core issue of one of the partner NGO like TNC, the Nature Conservancy, which is a very old NGO, and we are working with Kheti Virasat Mission also in Punjab area. So we chose some of the area, we chose some cluster, we collaborated with the right people, we collaborated with the agriculture department, we collaborated with the community also. Because ultimately community is the most important. And that collaboration has started giving some result. It will take some time. So this is my take on cluster-based collaboration. The cluster-based collaboration it is a synonym, I would say. Cluster and collaboration is a synonym. And that kind of ecosystem has to be developed, that there should be a win-win situation. There should be you can say, the gain out of it. That collaboration is going to give some result out of it.
Thank you. But I want Rekha to chime in with maybe a different perspective if you have on what Vikas has said, or to build on to what he says. How do you look at BP and Kestrel at cluster-based partnership? What's your definition? And it's okay to have a different definition. Yeah.
Can you hear me? Is this on? So when we look at cluster, and the way I think about cluster for me is, how do you localize a bigger issue, a global issue, or a national issue? So today I just want to give an example of road safety. That's one of a big issue in the country, because India is #1 when it comes to road injuries and accidental deaths. Then you look at within that, what is causing the road accidents? It's on the highway, a major. And then who are involved in it? It's of course the huge trucks, vehicles, cars, all of it. Then you look further into it, you see that the people who are out there really being injured are also the two-wheeler drivers. So when we looked at cluster-based, we also wanted to group target beneficiaries into these different pockets. So when we looked at our overall program, we looked at truck drivers. Can we look at truck drivers for road safety, but not just road safety? Because it's not just driving which is causing the problem. It's also his well-being, his financial. He must be carrying so many stress on his head while driving, because of which. So can we look at interventions for the holistic development of drivers? Then we looked at the youth, because they are driving two-wheelers. So what is it that they're doing in the cities which is going wrong? And the survey comes up saying they don't want to wear a helmet because of baal kharab ho jayenge. So how do you address that? By coming up with programs for college students to address such a simple issue, like, baal is important, head hair, and then comes hair, kind of a thing. And then can you catch them young by looking at school children? So can you inculcate the behavior of safety in everything, including roads? So that's how one aspect we looked at cluster. And the second, we looked at in each of these categories, we looked at the ecosystem. So when you look at the truck drivers, we looked at who are they working with, the transporters, the traffic regulators, the corporates. So how can you bring in partnership with all of them to create impact? So I'll talk more about partnership because that is what has led us to success in whatever we do in terms of creating impact. But yeah, that's how we look at cluster. Yeah.
I like that. अगर सिर ही नहीं रहा तो भाल का क्या करोगे आप, right? So you come to the main point, and what you say, takes me back to what we are doing at Bayer. When we look at reviving defunct food processing organizations, FPOs, we can't do this alone, right? We may have the expertise as an agriculture company, the knowledge of agronomy, the best practices, but we don't have the wherewithal to train them on reviving or creating a business model. I need a partner to do that. So what works for us, and what I understand, and to the question that this gentleman asked, he doesn't see any collaborations, and I said, you really need to look deeper and maybe change your direction into what? We work only with partners who bring in their expertise and work with us, and we work collaboratively because our end objective is the same, right? We may have different paths to reach it. So I think what works is a hub and spoke model. You create a hub. As a corporate, I create a hub, and you have a spoke which gives you have a different expertise. I take that as a spoke. I would build that in. I'm happy to build that in, as long as you give me value-added services that come to and address the communities. And that's where I want to bring in Niraj. He spent 28 years doing this development work when I don't think you would have even heard of development. Yeah, Niraj, for me, my question to you is slightly different. Of course, you can touch upon partnership, but I really want to tap into what have you seen changing over the past 28 years, in this development sector? How has it moved? Has the needle really moved in partnerships?
To me, things haven't changed much.
There you go.
I will, means a lot of things have changed, but we work very closely on education. About 2 decades ago, the students who were completing their schooling, the percentage was just 6%. That has gone to about 15% now. What happened to 94% students who did not complete education, and what will happen to another, say, 84-85% students who are not going to complete education? And I'm talking about today. By education, I mean in today's time, if you have not completed class 12th in a globalizing economy, which is a knowledge economy, I don't think one can have a high and rising standard of quality of life, right? So on education front, things haven't changed, but on a lot of things, and I will thank the gentleman sitting here that why the partnerships have not happened so far. Partnerships haven't happened so far, sir, because structures have not been done, okay? I will touch upon, with your permission, a little bit on clusters also, because I would not disagree, but has a different point of view on cluster. To me, today, all of us who are sitting over here, we are from social sector. So we are looking at social clusters. And what would a social cluster mean? Social cluster will exactly mean what a business cluster means. What is a business cluster? It's a geography where like-minded industries are there, their suppliers are there, their vendors are there, they are doing the similar kind of work, and bringing up togetherness improves the effectiveness and efficiency of that whole region, right? Can this happen into social sector? To me, a small geography, and that's what had been missing. If you talk to anybody in development sector, no one wants to talk small. Everybody would say, I am working with 1 lakh people. I am working with 5 lakh students. Yaar, give me a break. I am working in one geography with 1500 students, or kamar toot gayi hai kaam karte karte. Right? So numbers, geography, and theme, these are 3 aspects of a cluster. Okay. Now, how exactly one gets into this? A cluster is a geography of people, of different types of communities, and it is complex. But if you have identified what the issues are, then there is very strong chance that the whole cluster will develop if 5 industries come together. And that is what we are trying to do with a cluster of 60 villages, right? We are working with CSR Walks in Gujarat in one cluster, where one company will start doing the digital infrastructure improvement. You said, how will one report? They will report about their digital infrastructure. We are doing secondary education. We will take up secondary education in the whole cluster, and we will report about secondary education. Third company taking up health issues, improving Anganwadis, improving primary health centers. That company straight away works on that vertical. So cluster, close to my heart, I very strongly believe that cluster approach is the only way to improve a smaller geography, and that small geography can improve the effectiveness and efficiency of the social ecosystem in that region. So a small geography is my definition of a cluster.
Perfect. I think you set a very nice context, a real context, right? And you're moving beyond the number game.
Yep.
Yeah, it's more about creating impact and real strong difference on the ground. Otherwise, we are so obsessed with numbers that we want to just put up numbers everywhere. And this just also reminds me, you know, when I said that we work with different partners, it's exactly the same, that we tell the partner, you do your work and you can do your own evaluation. For us, there is a different assessment. Tejashri, to your question, is also the overall project assessment, which is necessary to see what is the difference the project on its own. But it's all need-based. You are giving the community what they want or what they have asked for. We don't go with an idea, this is what we want to do, because that's just the wrong approach. You understand what they want, and then we develop programs accordingly. You know, but Vikas, I want to come to you. You manage so many partners across government, academia, schools, and everything. What are those challenges? And conflict is a word I heard somebody wanting to know. How do you really address those aspects in the job that you do?
So, collaboration itself is a very, very big term, and it's very difficult term also, because when you collaborate with a diverse group. And especially when you go in a cluster is also a very diverse group. Let's take example of if I'm going to implement any project in village. So you may be having a lot of stakeholders. They are very, very diverse. And to address their needs, you have to collaborate with many people. Many people may include, one stakeholder is government, another stakeholder is public opinion leaders, PRIs are there, they are having their own interests. So challenges, if we talk about challenges are many. चैलेंजेस इतने हैं कि उनको हम फुलफिल करते हुए बहुत मुश्किल होता है. द वन फर्स्ट चैलेंज आई वुड लाइक टू एड्रेस हियर इज द एक्सपेक्टेशन ऑफ स्टेक होल्डर्स आर डिफरेंट. इट इज़ नॉट एक्सपेक्टेशन, इट इज़ देयर मोटिव. वन जेंटलमैन सेड दैट कि वो कोलैबोरेशन क्यों नहीं हो पाता है दो कॉर्पोरेट्स के बीच में, बिकॉज एवरीबडी वांट्स देयर ओन ब्रांड इमेज, कि मेरा नाम ज़्यादा हो, मेरा नाम ज़्यादा हो. तो इसलिए कोलैबोरेशन कई बार नहीं हो पाता है. It is not happening, especially if you see collaboration, consortium-based collaboration is allowed in the CSR, but it is not happening, जैसे नीरज जी बोल रहे हैं. But collaboration is easily possible in NGO versus corporate, because NGO is infusing passion and corporate is infusing money. So it is happening there, because eventually the brand image is going there. So the question I am coming to, challenges सबसे पहले कि चैलेंज ये है कि कोई वहाँ पे पॉलिटिकल लीडर है, उसको अपना माइलेज चाहिए, उसको अपना एजेंडा चाहिए, उसको ये चाहिए कि मैं क्या चाहता हूँ. इवन उस एरिया में एजुकेशन नीड असेसमेंट अगर हमने किया, या एजुकेशन इज मोर फैक्टर विच इज़ लैगिंग बिहाइंड, बट उसको चाहिए कि रोड बनेगा तो उसका एक पत्थर लगेगा, बिकॉज एजुकेशन इज़ अ सॉफ्ट थिंग, इट इज़ नॉट गोइंग टू विजिबल इवन आफ्टर 2-3 years. बट रोड बनेगा तो उसका पत्थर लगेगा, तो उसने इनॉग्रेशन किया होगा तो उसका नाम होगा. दिस इज द वन चैलेंज वी नॉर्मली फेस, स्पेशली बीइंग अ कॉर्पोरेट एंड वी आर हैविंग मैन्युफैक्चरिंग यूनिट. So we normally day to day we face. Second challenge we face, the most important stakeholder in our implementation process is PRI. They are having their own agenda. They are not well educated. They don't understand the developmental process. They don't understand a long-term sustainability approach for any process. उसको क्या चाहिए? पानी का एक हैंड पंप लगा दो साहब, यहाँ टंकी लगा दो, चाहे वो टंकी में से पानी बहता रहे, दिन रात बहता रहे, क्योंकि बिजली तो फ्री से आ रही है, ऊपर से तार जा रहा है, उससे तार जोड़ दिया. This is another challenge which we normally corporates face. एनजीओ नहीं फेस करते होंगे, या बहुत सारे ऑर्गेनाइजेशन है दे आर इनटू सॉफ्टवेयर डिवीजन, और कुछ उनका अप्रोच इज डिफरेंट, बट whosoever is having a manufacturing unit, we normally face this challenge. Third challenge we face within ourselves also. Within ourselves, I'm talking in a broad term corporates. यार ये काम करने से तो हमारे कंपनी का उतना नहीं होगा, ये काम करते हैं because within our group also, within the CSR group also, board also, everybody wants, better name, not the result, not the sustainability, not many things. They want to visibility उनको चाहिए. किसी भी को कोई काम करें, आज हमने काम किया CSR में, we have put up money in some project, it should start giving result next year or within 6 months. This is a behavioral change. It takes time. जैसा नीरज जी ने बताया कि almost 3 decades he has worked. I'm into it since last 2 decades. किसी भी चीज़ को, किसी भी enterprise को develop होने में takes time. So that challenges we face. The only answer to this is in our context, I would say, because I am in a company since last 23 years looking after CSR, is passion. If you are having a passion, कि ये करना ही है और right direction में करना है, let's say 80% and 20% का ठीक है, 20% push factor है, लेकिन मेरा 80% pull factor वाले हमारे activities हैं, so we will do that. One example which I have already quoted is crop residue management. पराली के ऊपर काम कर रहे हैं, बहुत छोटा है. The problem is so big. उसमें शायद we are able to do our contribution hardly 1 or 2%. But at least we are addressing that. 4 साल बाद कोई मुझसे कोई पूछेगा कि ये काम आपका पैसा कहाँ गया, क्या काम किया? We would not be able to show because it's a soft activity which you are not going to have any. Only thing, the thing which you will have is documentation. ये हमने किया, but we are still doing it. So only answer for this is we have been able to address all these issues by passion, by educating the multiple stakeholders which we are having in our area. चाहे वो politician हो, चाहे government officials हो, चाहे teachers हो. In education project की बात करें, हमारे लिए हमारे पास option था कि हम अपना teacher लगाते या government के teacher को हम करते engage करते. हमने कहा कि अपना teacher लगा देंगे और कल को हमारा business down होता है या कोई और प्रोसेस होता है, टीचर्स यहाँ से निकल के चले जाएंगे एंड अगेन दिस गवर्नमेंट टीचर विल कम. सो इट इज़ बेटर टू engage our energy, invest our energy, put our energy into that direction कि गवर्नमेंट टीचर्स को कैसे हम उनको मोटिवेट करें. एंड वी डिड दैट. एंड आई वुड लाइक टू से दैट कि यहाँ पे हमारा एक एरिया, एक क्लस्टर, नीरज जी की बात से बिल्कुल सहमत हूँ मैं, हमारा भी बहुत छोटा सा क्लस्टर है. छोटा इन द सेंस कि मनी हम बहुत ज़्यादा लगा रहे थे, लेकिन हमने ये कहा कि वी विल क्रिएट अ मॉडल ऑफ एक्सेलेंस, नॉट द मॉडल ऑफ नंबर. सो वी हैव ऑल्सो फोकस मॉडल ऑफ एक्सेलेंस के ऊपर. जिस क्लस्टर में इट वॉज वेरी हार्ड टू गेट सेकेंड डिवीजन स्टूडेंट्स, नाउ फ्रॉम दैट क्लस्टर स्टूडेंट्स आर वहाँ से IITians निकल रहे हैं, NITs में जा रहे हैं, इंजीनियरिंग के लिए जा रहे हैं, मेडिकल के लिए जा रहे हैं, एग्रीकल्चर के लिए जा रहे हैं. सो दिस काइंड ऑफ ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन हैज़ हैपेंड. एक बात मैं कहना चाहता हूँ नीरज जी, some changes are coming. थोड़ा contradict कर रहा हूँ मैं. Some changes are coming because of this special topic that is cluster-based collaboration. It is not happening with many corporates, but it is happening with the government. It is happening with the NGOs. So I must say that this has a start happening. This structure is already started creating. So thank you very much.
Vikas, what you said takes me back. It's all about proprietorship, ownership, mera naam, hamara naam, naam. You work with passion. I would add on another thing. CSR requires that you leave your ego behind. Right? You can't have that if you really want to work in partnerships. And let me share with you, we have a very unique project working with visually impaired women where we train them to become medical tactile examiners. Their sense of touch is so heightened that we give them 9 months rigorous training to detect the minutest of breast cancer lump. Right? And they do that which even a mammography cannot detect. A mammography detects a breast cancer lump size 1.5 centimeter and above, plus a mammography is recommended for women 45 years and above. What do you do in the gap of young women who are there, who may have a genetic history of breast cancer in the family, or who needs to be made aware of how do you do a self-breast cancer examination? This is where the medical tactile examiner comes in, because through her touch, which is used by learning through Braille, she detects a cancer lump of 0.5 centimeter. Now, am I getting corporate partners to join me in this 9 months residential training programs? No. Why? Because ये आपका program है, हमें हमारा program करना है. And I say, okay, here is my partner, I'll put you across, please go ahead. Have they approached the partner? No. So, in partnerships, when you are bringing in relationships, you are bringing in established trust with communities. One would think having another corporate join hands and building up on that and running with it would be cakewalk. It doesn't happen. And it is exactly because of this, my name should come in. And I said, okay, we don't want proprietorship. Please go ahead. Put it up on your website. You do your press release. We do ours, you do yours. I still don't have takers. And my ask of today from this audience, if you are a corporate partner, come and meet me and let me see how we can do that. But there are different other kind of challenges. This is just about ego, passion, or not having the same objective. Would you believe that there are regulatory challenges sometimes that hinder partnerships? And I want Rekha to come in and share her experience as to what does this really mean, and how does she deal with the regulatory environment that exists that act as a barrier for partnerships?
So before I get to regulatory, what I would also say is that, like you mentioned, passion and being goal-oriented. So I think what has really worked well for us, so we are a very small CSR team, but we work with 12 plus partners, and we work across India. But again, we work in different cities, so it is very cluster-based. So we have it like hub and spoke model in each cities, in each aspirational districts. But what our partners bring in is a strength. They know what is there on the ground. And when we come together and we have it like an annual conference where we have all our partners from all the corners of the country coming in together, we discuss together, and each one of them. So initially it's like, because they are also, actually they're competitors, right, on the ground. But when they come here, we were like, no, we have a common goal, and therefore, can we come openly and, be honest with each other in terms of what my learnings were, what my challenges were? Can there be knowledge sharing? And this has worked beautiful. And when we as corporate look at us, our partners, they are an extended arm of ours. And we are very transparent with them, and we expect them to be equally transparent, which also, touch wood, is really going well. And so when we talk about regulatory compliances, the law requires a lot of details in terms of spend, in terms of documentation. So NGOs earlier could be, really looking at a cause and working with a human angle, a social angle. But with the law coming in, the expectation is that NGOs also need to know business. So I heard in the earlier session, corporatization of the NGOs. So NGOs really need to now know, how do you maintain documents? How do you have processes in place? How do you have control framework in place? And these are all very new for them, very difficult for them. So I think that's where corporate can play a big role of hand-holding them, supporting them. So if you are having an issue or a situation, don't get into a blame game, but can you kind of handhold together and work together to come up with a solution? So which is what we as corporate and our partners, NGO partners together, so when the law came up saying that you need to spend, so many corporates would give the money to the foundations. Then it was a problem of the foundation, how do you spend it? But when you say, no, it's no more the problem of foundation, it is a problem of both of us. And how do we work together? So we get at the design stage itself working with the partners in terms of while they budget, how will their budget move and how will that reflect into our budget? So in that manner, you are able to ensure that you are ensuring they comply and therefore you are complying. It's not that you are using them to cover up yourself. So they do well, you do well. And if that kind of a relation is born, is being there, then definitely a partnership will work. You'll enjoy your partnership. And also corporates, we have been really trying. So going back to the programs which Castrol is a group company of BP, and it's a leading lubricant company in India. 100-year-old brand. And our CSR programs are very strategically aligned to our business strategy. So we work with the mechanics in the unorganized sector or with the truck drivers. And what we have really seen is that corporates, because truck driver road safety is an issue with all corporates. And our partners, our NGO partners have actually gone to the corporates and kind of told them that we can help solve this problem together. So we have a lot of examples of partnership where corporates are coming to us and we are working together. So it's a small way, but a small start, and I think that, we all will be there one day. Yeah.
Such music to the ears where you say that competitors have become collaborators. And I love what you say about an extended arm. It's like having a family, right? Your partners are your family. And if you respect them and have them as their family, there's no way things will not move. In fact, when we called all our partners, and we work with 23 partners, you're talking about 10, 11 hours is double, and we called them together, it came as a surprise that 3 competitors got together and exchanged the best practices and sort of built on to like, so one competitor has warehousing expertise that the other 2 didn't have. Now he's extending it to the competitor NGO partner. Right? I think that's the kind of spirit we want to kindle through collaborations, and it can be done. Here are the examples that you're hearing from us. To you, Niraj, somebody asked about, how do you build on the ground expertise that already exists within the community? Any examples with your years of experience where you have seen that the knowledge of the community can be tapped and built into the programs that go on?
Certainly. But I'll just build on what Rekha had said. Fortunately or unfortunately, all of us who are in this room connected to our work very passionately. But 2014 onwards, all of us believe in God, but even our God needs to pass resolutions. So anything that you do, if you do not have good paperwork, that is not going to qualify, and that's going to put the partner as well as the company into trouble. So what we do, we share a set of things that everybody will have to kind of adhere to, conduct small workshops, and believe me, even within my company after 7 years, if you see all the paper, you will still find some problems. So forget about the NGO partner. So one need to be very patient, continuously working with them, so they give you a better report. It's not that I have funded, so it's my right to get the report. I have to equip the person to write the report the way it would be submitted to my board. So that's one. There are huge expertise at the grassroots level. However, let me distinguish the expertise in 2 broad buckets. One expertise is when you are working at the grassroots with the people. So they identify with you, they identify with the grassroots level partner because they have worked over there for very long. So people expertise is one thing which cannot be redone by a corporate jumping into that area. It's very clear. So our civil society partners have that people expertise. The other expertise is of a theme expertise. Are you expert in education? Are you expert in health? Are you expert in skills? Even within skills, are you expert in apparel skill? Are you expert in plumbing? What? So, whosoever I have met so far, they are extremely good in people. They have exceptional people expertise. I will never be able to duplicate it. Okay? There are some partners who have very good people expertise as well as the skill expertise. We have a partnership with one NGO in Narmada, Shroff Foundation Trust. They train all our apparel trainees. Okay, and they select them from nearby area doing dexterity test, what not. I would not set up anything which they are doing. So they have people expertise, they are working in 200 villages in that area, and they have developed their expertise in training people in 10 trades with a training center. I'll be mad not to go to them, okay? But one thing, so there are expertise, one need to right in the beginning, define whether you are looking for people expertise or whether you are looking for theme expertise, or you are looking for both. If these distinctions are done beforehand, there is no question that why any partnership will fail. So, one more thing, this challenge, do I have the time or? I'll give you a minute. Okay. So, challenges in partnerships. Challenges in partnerships are there because partnerships are not structured well right in the beginning. Things are not written down well. I'll give you one example where we did a infrastructure improvement program with Ahmedabad Municipal Corporation, where individual infrastructures, toilets, road, electricity, everything was provided to a community of about 1,200. Project was completed well within time, well within budget. It was included among 100 best global practices by United Nations, and still the partnership failed. We couldn't do the second project. Okay? We learned from that and we made changes, and with Ahmedabad Municipal Corporation only, with Municipal School Board, we are running an education program for last 15 years, where what Vikas said, that children are getting into engineering, medical. We are handholding a child from when he is 10 years, going till when the child is 20 years, and establishing the education to employment link with the same partner. Absolutely successful, because we wrote down things. I said, I do not want your money, number one. Number two, I am part of municipal school system, but I am not following your system. It is before and after school hour. And we will get into an MOU of 10 years. So I signed on day one a 10-year partnership on this, because I was sure, they were sure, and it's done. So if you have written down and on a piece of paper beforehand, lot of nitty-gritties, then partnerships will work, and partnerships are the only way of moving forward.
No, I think great insight. I know I want to give to you, but I also want you to add on to any failures that you encountered, because you also have a long history of working in education, and what worked for you in the end. So just build on to what Niraj said, because I think it's very interesting to hear as to how, and one thing I'm catching, Niraj, is of course long-term partnerships and long-term project. They have a better propensity of being implemented rather than...
There is nothing called project in development sector. Everything is a program.
All right, I'll take your word. Let it be a program, but long-term. Long-term. Instead of those short bursts of short-term energy, Bonvita Pili and ek ghante ke liye you are energized. No, not that. Yeah.
So coming to specifically fail to believe me, every years we have failed and we have learned and we have, we stood up again and we corrected our mistakes or whatever you say. Whatever we are doing, we are running a lot of programs, we are running with the government only. We are not running in overlap with the government. We have whatever we have done. This is the best thing I can, convey to you, because that is the biggest social enterprises, it's government. हमारा budget is minuscule. That is a budget of CSR in our country. हमें लगता है, but what we have demonstrated, especially corporates. I'm coming from corporate sector. I'm also running one foundation, but emphasizing on corporate. What we have demonstrated, that is the management. That is the impact of a rupee. कि अगर 1 रुपया लगाया है तो उसका best output क्या रहा है corporate का. And that's why we have been, you might be knowing about Chambal. It's the biggest fertilizer unit of the country, and it's having a almost 20% share in urea manufacturing. हमारा budget is not that big, but the magnitude, amplification, government के साथ आप काम करते हो, so amplification is very high. Failure की बात करें, Sarita, we have failed every year, still we are failing, and हर बार हम लोग कुछ सीखते हैं नया. One more thing I would like to bring in here, cluster based collaboration की बात कर रहे हैं. The kind of innovation NGOs are bringing into the system, just see that social enterprises में how things are changing very fast, and it is impacting a community, it is impacting a school, it is impacting a skill center. Things are happening. Yes, not at our pace, but it is happening. Thank you.